Please turn to page 78. Page 78. That's page 78. Under the heading Euthanasia, we're going to be talking about some serious things that I hope, and I'm also going to share this on this Bible. I don't usually share the Bible studies on YouTube, but I'll share this one and put a heading on it. Page 78, where it says Euthanasia. The severely handicapped, infirmed, helpless, and aged are persons in the sight of God with life given by Him and to be ended only by Him. Proverbs 6, 16, 17. Somebody want to read that?
There are 6 things that the Lord hates, 7 that are an abomination to Him: haughty eyes, lying tongue, and hands that shed innocent blood.
Proverbs 31, 8.
Open your mouth for the youth, for the rights of all who are destitute.
Acts 17, 25.
He himself gives to all mankind life and breath and everything.
Okay. Let me just share something with you that's occurring in my wife and I's life right now. Before I begin, I'm going to make a little funny. My Marty, my meatball, my boo-boo, my bestest friend, if you will, my therapy dog, is getting up in age. He's 11 some odd years old. He's got these, I guess what they're like tumors on his side of his torso. Quite frankly, you know, it doesn't look good for Marty to be living another 2 years. I mean, let's be honest, okay? And I'm going to miss him to no end. What happens when he gets sick? He's going to look me in those eyes with those puppy's eyes, and he's going to say, please help me.
I'll get it in a minute.
And the way I'm going to choose to help him is not put him in chemotherapy, and I'm not going to have major surgery done on a 12-year-old dog. I don't know if that's good stewardship. I'm going to euthanize him. I'm going to put him down. As sad as that might be, and it will be sad, and it will destroy my life for about a week and a half, and I'll get over it because I've been here before, right? Those eyes, to some extent, I saw in my mother's eyes when my mother now is on oxygen at night. You know, those Marlboros over the last 60 years have finally caught up to her, and she has oxygen at least at night for now. Her blood saturation level was, when she was sleeping, tested to be almost as low as 86, which is not good. And when I was putting on the apparatus and trying to help her through the whole process of putting on the oxygen at night, I got those same puppy eyes, right? The difference, though, is one is my mother, one is my dog. The same puppy eyes is when my mother-in-law is so confused that she doesn't even know what state she's in, or where her son is, or where she's at, or who she's at. She can't remember diddly squat. Her short-term memory is terrible, if not nil. Her, you know, she remembers things that happened 50 years ago in Wisconsin, and she can't remember 2 years what happened, or even 2 days ago, or even 3 minutes ago. I see those sad eyes looking at her mother, at her daughter. I'm confused. I'm confused. Now, first and foremost, let me say to all of you that these are not easy times for either my wife or myself. And quite frankly, I've also seen some people and my siblings step up to the plate and get back in the batter's box. You know, you get that too as well. First and foremost, let me say to you all that the puppy eyes that you get from loved ones is not the same as from a dog. All humankind, as it says in Acts 17:23, he himself gives to all mankind life and breath and everything. Does that mean that he does not give life and breath to my Marty? Of course he does. He sustains all creation. But Marty is not created in the image of God. This has a whole host of reasons why we as a culture do things that we don't do otherwise for animals. Okay, one of which is we eat animals. We don't eat people. Although there's an intellectual in Sweden that says that might be the best way to handle our carbon print. I know, they just go crazy. Anyway, be that as it may, my wife and I have dealt with A, the spiritual angle of this all, B, the emotional angle of this all, C, the financial angle of it all, and even D, the geographical location. Now, number one, all of you out there, I don't care how old you are, you're all at the age, I'm at the age, where we have to sit down and seriously consider all the things that could take place and be actively involved in decision-making at those levels, financially, emotionally, physically, spiritually, and so forth. They have things like DNRs, do not resuscitate, living wills, etc., etc. Now, also, if any of you have, and let me be quite frank, if any of you have any inheritance that you want your children to have, you best make sure that you take care of that while you are, what is it, of right mind and spirit or something. My mother-in-law waited too long, and because of that, thousands of dollars have been squandered, whereby they did not necessarily have to be. But be that as it may, that was up to her. And again, that was up to her. I don't think anybody actually talked about it, which is what I want you to do. I want you to talk to yourself about the difference, the difference between humanity and a dog. There are several states on the West Coast, Oregon, Washington, California, and I think a couple others on the side there, whereby assisted suicide is now legal. Euthanasia for the aged and the handicapped are now considered legal. You have to go through a process, but that process will eventually loosen up to the point where you will be like they have in Canada, where Canada is almost glorifying in the amount of euthanasia that they apply to the aged. These are very serious times that we have. Now, number one, let me say from the onset that we have to understand the fact, first and foremost, that euthanasia is wrong for a Christian. I'm not saying that you cannot decide to withhold care. That's called passive euthanasia, which is really not passive euthanasia. Where you decide, don't put a breathing tube in, or this or that. But active euthanasia is basically taking a syringe and putting in your loved one's arm and putting them down like an animal. And that is becoming more and more acceptable, not only in the West, in in Europe and so forth, but here in America. We as Christians in the world, in this time of abortion and so forth, where we basically now practice infanticide, where even a child that is born out of the womb after a certain amount of time can be, if you will, euthanized. I don't know who came up with the time limit or whatever, but it's completely absurd. And if a mother can choose to do that, or if children can decide to euthanize their parents, then what's to say that the government can't intervene like they do in China and basically decide that they will abort the child or put your parents down? How did we get here? How did we get here? We got here because A, number one, we're a godless age, and we are. B, we got here because we denied reason. There were people that said that there is no difference between animals and people. That is not what reason tells us. Reason tells us that your loved one, when they have those puppy eyes, some of them say, help me. Some of them say, I'm going to miss you. Some of them say, I love you. Some of them say in their confusion about things that have happened in the past. And they're not. They are human, very, very human. We have also lost sight of children. What difference does it make if we destroy a child in the womb for 8 months or 6 months, or for that matter, 2 days out of the womb? Well, that difference now is becoming null and void. We as Christians need to keep our heads up high and hold dear to the humanity of our loved ones. As time goes on, and you've noticed this, I think, in hospice, where hospice now is almost condoning euthanasia, whereby they used to, years ago, they used to say something like, our mission is to extend life and make the uncomfortable comfortable. Now, their mission is simply to make the uncomfortable comfortable. That is not what hospice is all about, or what it should be all about. What's the best way we can deal with this as people our age? I know this is depressing. I know it's really depressing. Plan. Talk to your children. Look at your finances. Look how it will affect your spouse. Talk about what decisions need to be made, how they need to be made. Talk to them, continuously tell them that you love them, and we need to talk about this. And that talking and that communicating is not going to be done overnight, where you write out a list and say, okay, DNR, okay, we'll have a DNR. Okay, living well, we got that. No, it takes time, it takes effort. What happens, like for example, if anything were to happen to me, I could keep my mother's house because of insurance. If anything happens to my wife, I can keep, the house because of insurance on her. But what happens if I stop working, or if she stops working? Where does that all leave us? So those are things that I asked my wife, and some of you would understand this. Some of you have tried to adhere to it as best you can. But I asked my wife, please let me die at home. I want to die at home. I want my dog by my side. and you too, that is my wife, but I want my dog by my side. And after I said that, and this is where it takes time, that might not be possible. It might not be possible. Because of finances, because of this, because of that, whatever. Yes, my preference is to die at home. I think all of us would agree on that. There's no place like home, folks, right? Anyway, but I want you to be clear about this, that you also have to be actively involved in discussing this with your spouse, with your loved ones, with your children. And those communications are, which children do you trust? Which children don't you trust? Which children can you rely on? Which children you can't rely on? And these are very difficult decisions, folks. All right? And all I can say to you is that I'm going through it myself. One of the reasons why my wife and I have been so stressed, my wife has been to the lawyer or to the care facility like 3 times every week, and she has to drive almost 45 minutes because they're the only ones that will take Medicaid right now until we liquidate the house up in New York. My mother, my mother, well, she's my mom, and she needs somebody, and I need to take care of her. Some of our children don't take care of us. On the other side of the coin, I also want to say that because of this stress, you have caregiver syndrome. And I find it with my wife and I that sometimes when we're taking care of, we call her Louie, my mother-in-law, Lucille. We call her Louie, and my mother's Willie. Louie and Willie. We got her checkbook, and we got the other one's checkbook. So on the checkbooks, we got Louie and Willie. Besides that too, we have to take care of all their finances. All right. Caregiver syndrome is you want to do what's right. You question what you do is right. You question, for example, do I ask my mother, does she want a DNR? Do I ask my mother, what does she want to do for this or that? Serious questions. And what happens is, with caregivers, they lose patience. It happens. Trust me, it happens big time. So if we have a problem with Louie at Blumenthal Care Facility, we come home and have no patience for my mother. Well, that's not my mother's fault. She's still 80 some odd years old. She's on oxygen. She needs her nebulizer. Well, yeah, but in our mind, we're out of emotional energy. So we have to be aware of that as well. So these are things that I want you to consider as we age. First of all, culture is lying to us. We are not dogs. I love my Marty. My Marty loves me. But I'm not going to spend $10,000 to put my dog on chemotherapy or dialysis. That ain't going to happen. I'll go out and get another shelter dog and give him a good life. On the other side of the coin, do I put my mother on dialysis when she has kidney failure? Do I buy oxygen for her? These are questions that come to mind.